still in Kenya, Nairobi. We need to know if it is, you have already started the embassy yet or not. Second question, we have been in we have several people who are going to Israel from Tanzania. How do you think that we will create more relation with you, Tanzania and Israel? And how did you benefited from those Tanzania who going to Israel for looking some various areas where we usually heard that it's a holy land?
Well, first, with referring to your second question, I also want to say that I attended on Sunday an amazing event from my point of view with some 10,000 believers in some of the church organizations that showed an amazing support for the State of Israel and friendship. And of course, this part of the relations is important for us. It's definitely one of the pillars of the friendship, I think, between our two people. And of course, tourism is one of the best possible ways for people to get together and to know each other better. And same applies for the Tanzanians who are going to Israel or the Israelis who are coming here. And we are very happy that we have direct flights, not throughout the year, but in some times of the year in our holidays, both to Kilimanjaro Airport and to Zanzibar. And I think the number of Israelis who are coming to Tanzania is also growing. So in both ways, when people are going to the other country, they get to know better the other country. And I'm sure that, if I think one of my main tasks in order to promote the commercial exchange is that people will just know better what is the potential. So if those tourists are going and coming back, it's also a good way for them to share what is all about. Because again, I want to try to bring more Israelis to know Tanzania, to know how friendly country it is, how friendly people are, and also the potential, the business potential that is here. And I think same goes the other way around. Israel, maybe I should say unfortunately, is too much times in the media and too much times not in the way that we would like it to be in the media or the way we believe reality is. So I'm sure when people are going to Israel and see by their own eyes, they come back with a different picture of what Israel is all about. This phenomenon is something all around the world. I think in our case, it's very unique. First of all, by the volume that Israel is getting. Again, I don't really understand why, but the volume that we're getting in the international media and the biased coverage, which is, again, first of all, showing Israel. I think those who are not going to Israel, when they will hear the word Israel, might think it's a battleground, because that's the only thing that you see on television. So again, it's important that people understand that there is so many things to do and to see in Israel. And Israel is much more than a conflict. So I strongly believe and hope that more and more people from Tanzania will come to Israel. It's the best way to strengthen the relations. More than anything, we as representatives of the government will do. And you asked me about the embassy, and I find it positive if you don't sure if there is an embassy or no embassy. But no, I'm just joking. We don't have an embassy, permanent embassy in Tanzania as of now. I'm coming from Nairobi. This was one of the topics we also discussed with the president, and I think and hope that sometime in the future we'll reopen our embassy here in Tanzania. The only reason why we don't have an embassy at this point is economical. It's nothing to do with our past or background, or we understand the importance. We think it's one of the countries that we should have embassies, but out of economic constraints at the moment, we are unfortunately not so much thinking of opening new embassies, but even more so closing down some other embassies around the globe. But this is, it's definitely an internal issue in Israel. It's nothing to do with Israel-Tanzania relations. But yeah, I feel that my task, even so from Nairobi, is to bring the relations to that place that an embassy will have to come. And again, we're not there yet. So there is still a lot of potential, a lot of work to do between us that will be done and could be done from Nairobi. And of course, a permanent embassy will make it easier. But we should work together with the conditions that we have. And at the moment, this is from Nairobi. But I'm definitely planning to be here as much as I will need, or I'll find it necessary. And it will be 5 times a year, 6 times a year, 4 times a year. It depends on the volume of our cooperation. But I told the president that whenever I will need to come, I'll come.
My name is Nebo Mena. Mine is still on tourism. We know Israel from what we call battle, from battle point of view. But again, as a Christian, I know Israel from biblical point of view. And that has been attracting a lot of people to know exactly if what is written in the Bible is the reality. Some people who have gone to Israel, they have said that is true. Now, don't you see that by not having an embassy here in Tanzania, it's like an obstacle for those who are maybe interested to go to Israel. Taking consideration that to get a visa, one must go to Nairobi to get one, and some cannot afford those costs to go to Nairobi. That's number one. Number two, Israel is named as a battlefield because of its conflict with Palestine. And it has been said several times that Israel doesn't have an embassy in Tanzania because of Tanzanian stand on Palestine issue. Can you clarify on that?
I will definitely clarify on that. As you said, the people who came to Israel told you that everything that's written in the Bible is true.
Sure.
So this argument that we are not having an embassy because of Palestine is absolutely not true. There is nothing to do between your relation with Palestine and us being here or not being here. Again, I can tell you, I'm covering from Nairobi not only Tanzania but also Uganda, Malawi and Seychelles. Israel used to have, until 1973, 30 embassies in this continent. Today we have 9. The only thing which is true is that the majority of these embassies were not closed by us. It was closed as a decision by the African countries back in 73. But again, it has nothing to do with the reality today. There is not even a single country that we are not opening full embassy because of any considerations, be it what happened in the past or relation with Palestine. In theory, it should be on the contrary, because if I want to, and you ask me about Israel-Palestinian relations, if I want to persuade that I'm right and they're wrong, which is not, by the way, I think what I should do all the time, luckily, in this continent, in these countries, but I should be here if they are here. So it should be the opposite, that I should open embassies wherever they are in order to, to balance what they are doing in Tanzania. But once again, it's nothing to do with your relation with Palestine. And once I will reiterate, I found today the president as supportive as possible for strengthening the relation between Tanzania and Israel, and promised the friendship of Tanzania. And I will tell you very, very openly, I don't think it's a zero-sum game. I don't think that a country like Tanzania, if you're supporting Israel, it means that you are not supporting Palestine, or the other way around. Because as I mentioned before, Israel and Palestine, we are much more than a conflict. And there's so much we can do together to promote Israel-Tanzania relations without letting your opinion about Palestine to be in the way. It's very simple, and sometimes also among friends, we will have to agree to disagree. So yes, my goal will be to persuade the public, yourself, your leadership, that we are right, and that's what I'm doing as a diplomat. But this will not be a burden for our relations. And again, an embassy is a very important tool. As an ambassador, I will be the first one to admit that an embassy is very important. And an embassy here would be better than the situation we're having right now. But once again, it has absolutely nothing to do with Tanzania's policy towards Palestine or any other countries around the world. Regarding visas, it would have been easier, but no one should do the travel by himself to Nairobi to obtain visa to Israel. Today people can send it by DHL. We are working, and hopefully we'll announce it very soon, on having an office here that will be able to take care of all the visa applications, process them and send them to the embassy with the passports, and we will issue the visas in Nairobi and send it back. Again, hopefully such process should not take more than 10 days to 2 weeks, with all the posting back and forth, and therefore I don't think the visa should become any major burden on those who want to go to Israel.
My name is Salome Kimani. My question is on business. You said the delegation of business from Israel will come in September. What I want to know is how many, and this meeting or the business meeting will take place where? Nairobi or Tanzania?
So the delegation in September will be of Tanzanians who will go to Israel. And I don't have details about how many. We are just working with our Tanzanian friends on establishing this. It's a forum that will be gathered for the third time. It's gathered first in Israel in 2014, and then in Tanzania in 2015, and 2016 will be again in Israel. I hope we'll have a significant number of companies, because as I said before, what I feel is the main missing at this point is knowledge about the potential, about what companies can do together. So as much more companies we'll have, and as much more companies we will be able to matchmake for them in Israel, the seminar will be successful in order to open the eyes of the opportunities for both to cooperate.
Yeah, mine is about the relationship between Israel and Tanzania. So far, we are told that we have just a consul of Tanzania in Israel, Chichil. Now, I want to know, how do you cooperate with him or her in order to foster this relationship between Israel and Tanzania? As you have said that as Israel, you don't have the office here in Tanzania, you haven't yet opened, but yet now you're based in Nairobi, but we have our consul in Israel. How do you cooperate with him about Tanzania?
Your honorary consul in Israel is instead of your embassy in Tel Aviv, not or in Israel, not
Okay.
because instead of our embassy in Dar es Salaam, he's representing Tanzania.
Yes, that's why I'm asking how.
And of course, you know, you're asking me mostly about the Israeli embassy in Dar es Salaam, but I do hope that we'll also have, maybe even before our embassy, the Tanzanian embassy in Tel Aviv. But for your question, you know, honorary consul is important, but it's not instead of embassy, and of course he is very helpful for us whenever we need some assistance with hosting delegation from Tanzania, for example. We have very good contacts with him, but again, at the end of the day, you have to remember, he is representing Tanzania in my country.
2010, I visited Israel, and one thing was amazing to me. I found that you have some relationship with Palestinians, because when we were crossing the border from Israel to go to Bethlehem, we were handed over by the one who was the guide to a woman from Palestine. Then we crossed. Again, when we came back, she also handed over us to this one. Now, how do you organize such kind of a relationship amongst the conflict which is going on?
The relations are there because before and after the conflict, there are way more mutual interests. And under the various agreements, interim agreements that were signed between Israel and Palestine since 93, 94, we also have agreements with the Palestinian Authority. Many of these elements are luckily and happily still there. One of them is cooperation on security. And you know, not only when you're going to Bethlehem, if you want to Muslim prayer pilgrimage would like to go to the Temple Mount, they will go from Israel to the Temple Mount and then be accompanied by Palestinian people. Again, we have Palestinians who are working in Israel. The relations are, you know, the conflict is a long process. Historically, hopefully will not be too long to be resolved, but it's still there. I will not tell you that I'm expecting it will be solved tomorrow morning. But even within the conflict, as I mentioned, there are way more things in common. And again, I'm happy to say that even when we went through very difficult times, for example, the terrorist attacks that we had from Gaza, and even the current terrorist wave that we are having in Israel, and that people are being stabbed in our streets, it's not diminishing or destroying the good and important cooperation that is there. So, you know, this cooperation was challenged many times since it was signed in the mid-90s. And again, I think both sides, both Abu Mazen and his security forces and us, we realize and understand that it's important for both of us to keep it and maintain it, and not to break all rules and all cooperations, because then things will be much more difficult and severe for both sides. You see, Israel since '93 started a graduate deployment from the territories, from the West Bank and Gaza. Gaza fully and completely in 2005, from the West Bank even earlier from some parts. And it couldn't have been done without a security coordination. Because without this, we will have to be back there. We don't want to be back there. We want to allow, even before we are agreeing on the final agreement, we want to allow as many Palestinians as possible to live their own lives, not seeing Israeli soldiers, policemen, as well as securing the Israelis who are living there, and of course the Israelis who are living in Israel on the other side of the security fence that we've built. This security coordination and cooperation is a must. Without this, Israel will have to be back there. So again, it's a mutual interest for all of us to keep it, and of course, you know, the end goal is to achieve peace. And also peace will be achieved only by two of us sitting together and talking to each other.
I have two supplementary questions. One is on your meeting with our information minister. What really came out of that meeting, and what is, as a journalist, you would like to know actually what are those areas of cooperation? Maybe to see that information and sector can share between Israel and Tanzania. And I'm asking this because I'm also Secretary of Tanzania Editors Forum. Number two.
What?
I'm Secretary for Tanzania Editors Forum.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm interested to know actually.
But what kind of information you're asking?
I was asking if maybe you say that you met our information minister, okay? Which the areas of cooperation maybe you think that Tanzania and Israel can share. And number two, talking about cooperation comes from diplomacy, technocracy, business community, but I don't recall any of the moment that our fathers, maybe Prime Minister from Israel visited Tanzania, or our President visited Israel. Don't you think that maybe that's where our relationship lacks political commitment? Because if these fathers are not meeting and are not visiting each other's country, how can we claim that we have that strong relationship which we are claiming right now?
Well, I'll start with the second question. I agree. I think visits of both leaders, or not even leaders, but also other ministers of our governments are very important for the strengthening the relations. And I definitely hope that both my Prime Minister and your President will visit each other. Again, this is exactly the things that we as diplomats are working on. And hopefully during my tenure, and definitely during the tenure of your President and my Prime Minister in office, such visits will take place. And maybe even before such visits, other visits of ministers like trade and investment and economy in Israel and others, agriculture. Because again, you rightly mentioned, this is an important part and parcel of friendly and good relations.